Welcome, everybody, to Connecting the Universe. I'm author and researcher Mike Ricksecker, back at you with another interactive class out of the Secret Library of the Connected Universe. All right, we have a fantastic one for you this evening. Portals, star people of the American Southwest. So have you seen the theme here lately? We did portals in the wilderness. We hit on the UFO, the Harvard UFO research paper last week, which I actually did get into a little bit there at Petroglyph National Park with that last week. And now we're doing portals in the American Southwest. So yeah, recurring theme might have something to do with that book that I'm working on. So stay tuned for more with that. Do want to, and I see people are already in the house. My door farms. Great to see you, Lisa. Tom McNicholas is in the house. Super Chat Superstar. Scarlett as well. I do want to throw out there, those that are listening to the audio version of this later on the podcast, please join us every Wednesday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, connecteduniverseportal.com. You get, there's the public live stream there on the YouTube channel, but we have the member-only after show. You want to be a part of that because we do get into some very, very cool stuff there during that after show. Again, connecteduniverseportal.com. But there's so much more stuff out there on the Connected Universe other than, of course, just the Connecting the Universe class. Really, it's a community of like-minded people that are coming together. You get exclusive access into so much material when we go out there in the field on these different tours, when we're in the crypts of ancient Egypt, when we're out there, we're covering the American Southwest tonight. All of that amazing research and exploration that we do, members of the Connected Universe portal get first crack and access at that. So that again is connecteduniverseportal.com. Those that are already members, get the app. You can grab that, get all the notifications and updates right on your phone. And then we have the SMS text sign up too. So I have those links down there in the description. So sign up for that. And then Cosmic Chris is in the house. Great to see you, Chris. And Jen, greetings from the treadmill. On the treadmill. No Games of Thrones tonight. I appreciate you watching this right now. Games of Thrones later. She's catching up. Give her a break. All right. So let's go ahead and get into this. Portals in the American Southwest. So, and Jen was there for a couple of these. So it's been an adventure out there. It always been a bucket list item of mine years ago to get out to Chaco Canyon in New Mexico. Now, this is ancient Pueblan ruins, and I have to throw this out there because people still to this day say Anasazi, and that is an incorrect term to use. That was a Navajo term that was used to describe those ancient peoples, basically calling them either ancient enemy or alien enemy. We won't venture down that path just yet. So the descendants of those people, or who we believe are the descendants of those people, because they disappeared without a trace, like the Hopi, the Zuni, some other the Pueblan culture down there in the American Southwest. They said, no, we don't like that term. Call them ancient Pueblans or ancestor Pueblans or something to that effect. So that's what we're calling them these days. It's actually not a woke thing. So it's not even that. It's just that is what basically it's one of those where English speaking people came into the area and said, hey, who built these? And the Navajo people said at the time, those are those Anasazi, kind of like, those are those jerks. Those are our old enemies. Those were the bad guys. But the people that came into the area thought that was the tribe name, but it wasn't the tribe name. Nobody knows what the tribe name was. We have no idea. So we just call them ancient Pueblans. So all right. I've been to Chaco Canyon a couple times now, and what we find there is so many amazing things. The first time that I was there, I spent 6 hours there. I spent 5 hours of it at Pueblo Bonito, which is like the largest, most preserved of the structures there at Chaco Canyon. But there's so much more going on there. And then Jen and I were out there last April, exploring around a bit. That was actually on a excursion out to her conference that year. Not it had nothing to do with me, but we went out there for her, and we checked out Chaco Canyon on that trip, and got to explore some more things. And I'm going to play this clip. We're starting off right off the bat with, and this is a little bit of a lengthy clip, getting into what's there at Chaco Canyon. And then we're going to get into some more details about it. But really, really fascinating place. It is one of the few spots in the United States that is preserved this well. And we find more of those spots toward the west, and especially the southwest, for a couple of different reasons. One, with the east, they plowed it all under. 80% of what had been here in the east was plowed under because it was considered heathen. Anything that was quote unquote pre-Columbian, no, it's heathen, do away with. It flew in the face of the religion. So boom, go ahead, obliterate it. Which is really, really unfortunate. So we have Ohio is actually, fortunately, one of those locations that actually has some spots. We have some UNESCO World Heritage Sites here in Ohio, like the Great Circle Earthwork, Serpentine Mound, those places like that. What they call the Hopewell culture, which wasn't really, again, another one, they didn't call themselves that. It was just the name of the guy who discovered it. But the American Southwest has a lot of stuff because those that were destroying the east didn't get out there in time to go and destroy that. Plus, it was out in the desert, so it was really hot and dry and arid and difficult to settle. So let me go ahead and play this clip, and then we'll come back and discuss. Back at Pueblo Bonito, this is really one of my favorite historical locations, especially in the United States. A little bit windy out here, I know. Hopefully the microphone will be all right, but yeah, this is some place that I had always wanted to get out to, if you can believe, originally inspired by the Tex Murphy video games from the 1990s. In one of those, you actually come out to these ruins and uncover some of the secrets. And when I had played that, it was like, oh man, this is a place that I really want to get out to. And finally, 3 years ago, I was finally able to get out here. Spent about 6 hours in Chaco Canyon, 5 of them right here at Pueblo Bonito. There are a lot of secrets here to uncover, and kind of did that. And taking Jen through here today, she's off meditating. Perfect place to meditate. I hope she found a good spot. But we're going to walk through this a little bit today, and then explore some of the other areas of Chaco Canyon that haven't been able to explore before. But right over here on the wall, the petroglyph wall, that's where you find the petroglyphs for the star people. So when I've talked about in the Connecting the Universe classes about portals, star people, the spiral patterns, that's over there on those walls, and we will go explore those here in a little bit. But let's go ahead and get inside Pueblo Bonito. Okay, so behind me is one of the Great Kivas. That's the Great Kiva of Pueblo Bonito. Some of the other locations also have Great Kivas like this. And so what we can see here, we can see, some sort of, whether it was an ancient well or maybe a fire pit to do some work. Some people believe the little alcoves there had idols in there. We don't really know. Some people believe that those spots were actually places where they would put things like wood beams to either create a roof. Some people believe that this was domed. We really don't know. Some people even believe this was a place where they called upon the star people, like from the petroglyphs that we were talking about earlier, and we'll get to here a little bit later. And that strange dichotomy. We're now coming up to what I like to call the hot tub kivas. So this is not the hot tub, but it has a similar architecture where you have these pillars on the side here. Again, not really sure what they were used for, but definitely different than the great one back over there, the one that we just came from, which was bigger, wider, deeper, had other things in the middle. these, you have these pillars. They're smaller, right? And then this one, here's my hot tub, right? So you have the pillars again, and they're further down in there, but then you have this channel down there that is like, what in the world is the channel for? And that's what I was like, okay, maybe it's a hot tub kiva. It's a round structure like a kiva. This actually has that. See, it's round, but this almost has that keyhole type of design to it. We see across the world interesting locations where something that we relate to a keyhole has been built there. You see a lot of these like out in Japan. So back behind me these are the important petroglyphs. This is the petroglyph trail, but number 11 here on the trail is where we get the spirals and the stories of the star people. Now, according to ancient legend, these people from the stars came down and gave knowledge to the peoples here. Again, the site is astronomically aligned. Spirals are supposed to represent the portals from which they traveled from to get to here. So, and we see stories like this all over the world. Here we are in the American Southwest. Similar type of story. Star people, spirals, passing on knowledge. It's very, very interesting that we find the same exact thing right here. So back behind me, more petroglyphs. I have to credit Jen for this, for noticing on the walls, kind of like we're back in Egypt and she's noticing all the stargates. So petroglyph of a snake. Now it's not even marked here on the ground. They've been putting markers where all the different petroglyphs are, so you can take a look and see what they are. The petroglyph of a snake. And remember, what do snakes represent? Energy. Represent energy. And this is like within, 50 feet of where we saw the petroglyphs for the star people and the portals. So, are we seeing a similar thing here as we did like in Egypt, where you have the energy powering the portal so that people could travel through the stargates? Okay, last time I did not make it out this far. I came down a couple of stairs in the structure, and look, this is like a whole underground area of the kiva. You can see maybe the round structure, the round kiva, and really giving an idea here of how big this structure really is. We have underground stuff here. I wonder if there's underground stuff over at Pueblo Bonito that we don't know about. But then the height of this, when you come back up, and this was really surprising. And it continues to go up. That's the kiva. That's what we just saw underground there, coming up to here. So these could actually get very, very tall.
Yeah, it's really interesting. That's Quetzalcoatl. So that was actually before you get to Pueblo Bonito, but you park at Pueblo Bonito and then you walk over there. Yeah, it was really interesting. It was almost like a little silo coming up out of the ground. And given the way that some of those were built at Pueblo Bonito, it made you wonder, okay, was that also there? Maybe there are things that are buried, or other constructions that have long since obliterated that we're not seeing. So yeah, there's a lot of wind out there because it's a canyon. There's like no trees. It's just it gets pretty windy out there. So I do apologize for that. So Tom says you tested a drone. Yeah, you have to get special permission to put a drone up there. The first time that I was out there, I'm doing my filming and everything, and I was actually talking with one of the park rangers, and he was an off-duty ranger, and he had brought his mother out there, and she was trying to tune into to her ancestors. She was part of the Hopi tribe. And I'd ask him, hey, I have a drone out in my car. Is it all right if I put it up? And he said, well, you need to get special permission to do that because from those higher levels, you can not just see down into, of course, like Pueblo Bonito and some of the others, but you can see like on top of the mesas, some of the burial sites that they have up there. And they don't want those sites to be
publicly known, which is, I get it. I get it. But to me, it's a little weird because they have trails that go up there. So if you were to walk it, you kind of see it anyway. But, I respected that. So yeah, it'd have to get a special permission to do that. And Sarah, that's actually a really good idea. Do a Connecting the Universe trip out there to do some sort of little tour of the area. We could really put together an American Southwest tour to some of these different locations. Yeah, Chaco Canyon would definitely be one of those, and a couple of the others we're going to talk about tonight. But so many different locations to see out there and take a look at. So, Chaco Canyon, you got the Petroglyph National Park, which we're going to hit here soon. You could go down to White Sands, which is an amazing location. Kind of hit that whole thing. Hit the Owl Bar and Cafe just to do the whole Oppenheimer thing. Go down to White Sands, and then you come back up through Arizona and do like Montezuma as well, and Sedona. Yeah. And Jen says, I love the idea of a tour. Sarah says she's in. All right. So I guess we're going to have to set it up. Do an American Southwest tour. That would be fun. I love that area. Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, let's take a look at a couple things that we were talking about there that we really couldn't see too well in the video. Those that are listening to the podcast version, come out here Wednesday nights and you'll be able to see the things that we are talking about. Okay, so the spirals, I mean, they're pretty blatant. Boom, right there on the wall of the canyon. Yeah, it's pretty blatant. In fact, I have a sticker, and they sell stickers of these in the gift shop. Here's some others where you see the other spirals, and then down in the left hand corner you can see what they call the star people. And the idea here, and this is according to the indigenous tribes, is that the star people would use the portals to come down here to Earth and impart knowledge onto the peoples of the area. Now, when we're talking about Pueblo Bonito like this, and we're talking about here's some of the ruins. It's an amazing structure. I love just exploring and walking around. Here's one of the kivas. I think this one's actually from Quetzalcoatl, but we don't even know what exactly they did in these kivas. We know that they performed some sort of rituals. What those rituals were, what they were specifically for, how they performed them, no idea, because the peoples that would use these disappeared, and they only used them for part of the year. It wasn't like they lived there the whole time. It was only a certain time of year that they would come there, inhabit it for a while, perform their ceremonies. It was like a sacred location to them, and then they would leave. In addition to the rituals that they would perform, this is when the star people would come to them and communicate and impart knowledge. Now, one of these rooms inside of, and I should have included this clip as well, and I didn't. Darn it, Michael. It's within Pueblo Bonito. When you get inside, there's only two ways into this one particular room. One is you basically have to hunch down and almost crawl into this area. The other way into it is through this T-shaped door. Now, this T-shaped door, we see this on occasion throughout the American Southwest, into Mexico with the Aztec culture, and these designated rooms of significance. There's something important about these rooms. So coming at it from the one angle, having to hunch down like that and basically almost like crawl, to me, that's okay. You're having to bow. You're having to basically recognize this has some sort of significance. And then we have this, there's almost like a door of honor with the T shape like that. And to me, and I made this correlation there the first time I was at Chaco Canyon in 2019. I look at it as an inversion of like the T-shaped pillars that we see at Göbekli Tepe. And I know people are probably think I'm absolutely off my rocker for that, but you try to make connections. And when you see the same design, And it's basically just a negative of it, of what we see out there. It's just a negative version of it. You have to ask yourself, okay, why are we seeing that same shape and that design that are at these different locations like that? So, and Lisa says, guys should move. I don't know about moving there. I don't know about moving there, but definitely visiting a lot. I would certainly be interested in that. All right. So the spiral, why is this so significant? Well, we see this all over the world, and you guys have heard me talk about many, many times. Those who have been following along for a while have heard me talk about this being a symbol of portal. Okay. It is very, very significant, and we see it in many different cultures. So here we see in ancient Egypt, where we see on the pottery here the different swirls. We see it in Sardinia, the same thing. Even in their architecture, you see like those circles. You see that swirl pattern. This is also in Sardinia. We see it there in Newgrange, that swirl pattern. And then this one here is just up the road. Somebody asked me last week about Skinwalker Ranch. But this is McConkey Ranch, right down the road from Skinwalker, and you have that very distinct spiral pattern. So we see it all over the world, that spiral. And the indigenous tribes, and here's the thing that drives me nuts about this, is you have scholars today that will say, well, we don't believe this idea of it being a portal. We believe it's like a migration pattern or water or something to this effect. And I, look, I understand that's your interpretation of it as a scholar with a modern context of designs. But when you have the indigenous people from that area saying, this was our ancestors' work, and this is what our ancestors passed down to us, and they are the ones that said this is indicative of a portal, well, then I believe the people that actually created it. Okay. The ones that came along later and are trying to put into their own mind of their own context of how the world is supposed to work. No, the people that made it are saying this is what it is. So I'm going to believe the people that actually made it. For the ones that say it's water, and I've had this thrown out at me many times. Well, yeah, that spiral pattern, that swirl is supposed to be a symbol of water. And I don't know where that comes from. I guess maybe they're thinking it's supposed to resemble waves. Well, that's not the symbol for water in the ancient world. This is the symbol for water in the ancient world. This is off a piece of papyrus in Egypt. And we see that in hieroglyphs on the wall, that wavy line, that jagged line up and down. Basically, it looks like, for those that are listening to the podcast version, okay, the black jagged stripe on Charlie Brown's shirt, that's the ancient symbol for water. In ancient Egypt, they actually used that symbol for their letter N, what is our letter N. They use that jagged line, which actually is the symbol for water. So when they would draw the symbol of water, it was a jagged line like that, not a spiral or a swirl. So that, I hope, was to rest that particular argument on that. Other people dropping in the house. Deborah's in the house. Great to see. Karen is also here. Great to see you as well. Thank you for dropping in this evening. All right. So yeah, I highly recommend going out to Chaco Canyon. There's so much to see out there, and I've really just scratched the surface out there. And I've been there a couple of times. Really, it's like one of those you got to stay in the area. It's a real bumpy road to get there. It's a dirt road, about 20 miles. But it's a real treat to get out there and just walk amongst these ruins that we really don't have very many sites like that around the United States, but here is one where we can actually do that. You go out to Egypt and you're walking in ruins all the time, but in America, you really don't have that, but this is a location where you can. Okay. So moving on a little bit here. All right. Showed a video last week on the after show. So those that are members of the Connected Universe portal, they stick around for what we call the after show, and it's extra footage, extra conversation, extra of everything that we've been talking about for the evening, and it kind of give you some insight as to things that are going on within the Connected Universe. I don't usually do this, but I am going to play a clip that I played during the after show last week. Give you guys a little bit of a glimpse of what we do there during that, and then we're going to come back and discuss it. Those that have been watching some of the other videos and other materials may actually recognize this. But we did play this during the after show last week. This is last February. Petroglyph National Monument, Boca Negra Canyon. And I love this setup. This setup is amazing.
One more time at Boca Negra here. Now this is really, really interesting. On our drive out yesterday, Jennifer had noticed the spiral petroglyph up there, which of course is very interesting to me. This is something I've been researching a lot of because it is a symbol of energy and portal activity. Stargate locations generally have this symbol as well. So it's a controversial topic. There are those in the traditional mainstream that don't agree with that, but the indigenous people are telling us that these are portals. Now, from your portal there, you have over here the snake. Of course, we've talked before about that snake energy. When we say snake energy, really was an ancient symbol of energy. We find that in ancient Egypt. We've seen that at Chaco Canyon. And then if you just come down the steps here, you literally have the star people right here. So if you were actually to walk up the stairs the way we go, you have the star people using the energy to enter the portal.
All right, we're going to break that down here in just a moment, but I need to recognize $10 super chat superstar Tom McNicholas. Really appreciate that. Sounds like a fun trip. Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun going out there. It's a pretty wild road trip driving all the way out there, especially from out east where we are at, and then hitting all of those different locations. Yeah, we had a blast, an absolute blast doing that. We did that on the way to that was to the Conscious Life Expo out in Los Angeles. And I got props to Jen because she drove the tough part through a snowstorm in Arizona. That was a long day from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Palm Springs, California, hit that snowstorm in Arizona. And then we got held up for like 2 hours on Interstate 10. We still don't know to this day what in the world held us up, because when they finally opened up traffic, there's nothing. There wasn't like an accident or construction or anything. It was just they stopped us for some reason. It was really weird. So talking about the Connected Universe portal, Chris says he needs to join. We would love to have you, Chris. Please join. We'd absolutely love to have you. Scarlett says, I'm sure the ancients knew the difference between water and a swirl. Yeah. And I'm guessing people are either thinking waves, or maybe they're thinking like almost like a whirlpool sort of a thing. I don't know why they make that particular association, but the jagged lines like that represent ripples. They represent ripples. And Brandon saying, I don't like the overt modern Renaissance scholastic mundane view of all the ancients. Yeah, it's bizarre how they try to put a lot of this into a more modern type of a context. It's like they have their narrative. They have to try to, plug whatever this is into their narrative without listening to what the actual indigenous people are telling them. Like somehow this scholar knows better. I think the people that actually drew it knew better. So, all right, so let's take a little bit of a closer look at these. I mean, it's a wonderful setup. We did that. We did this in part in 2 days. So we had an afternoon there where we visited the main site, and then as we were driving out, Jen noticed the spiral up on the side of the canyon. It was like, oh shoot, we had to leave though because the park was closing. So I was like, yeah, we'll come back the next morning before we head out, and so we did. And yeah, just walking through there and noticing it kind of splits off from the main path that goes around the canyon wall, and it's really short. It just kind of goes up the side of the canyon wall a little bit. You have the star people at the bottom. I mean, like literally, there is a face and a star there. It's pretty blatant. You have the symbol of the snake there, which in the ancient world, again, the snake was a symbol of energy. And energy in a number of different ways. I mean, we're not, yeah, when we're talking like like earth energy and that sort of thing, yes. It was also a symbol for healing energy and a number of different types of energies. We still use the snake today in our medical professions. And then that straight up to the portal, the swirl, the spiral symbol. So it's like a perfect line up to, star people using the energy to enter the portal. Boom, it's right there. It's like a whole sentence as you're looking up the thing. It's really amazing. So, but that was the morning. That was the second morning. I'm going to play this other clip from the first afternoon that we were there. So it was kind of interesting. We kind of did this around food. So we stopped at Albuquerque for two reasons. One, we wanted to eat at El Bruno's because we love their salsa. When we were out there the year before, there's a couple of different ones around the area. We had hit the one in Cuba, New Mexico, coming out of Chaco Canyon, and great food. Love their salsa. This is not a paid advertisement though. This is just our opinion. So they had one in Albuquerque there too. So it's like, okay, we'll go to Bruno's, we'll eat, grab some jars of salsa. So we planned that for lunch. And then for our dinner, we wanted to go to Aldebaran Cafe, which is where Oppenheimer and Manhattan Project guys and so forth hung out at sometimes. So we wanted to do that for dinner. In between, we got this block of time. So Petroglyph National Park. We hit Boca Negra. So this is a piece of that from the first day. So I have the whole video, I'll say most of the video out there on the YouTube channel, the Mike Ricksecker YouTube channel. I have the link in the description to that. There's a little bit of a longer version on the Connected Universe portal, connecteduniverseportal.com, where you can watch the whole thing in its entirety there. So let me give you this little clip here, though. Okay, fellow time travelers, I'm standing in what is essentially a stone circle in the middle of the mesa on Boca Negra. Now, it does have a eastward facing opening, which if you're going to go from a spiritual type of perspective here, this is a view that's looking out toward the east, out toward the rising sun. And as you can see, it also has a very, very magnificent view of the mountains back there. But we are in the middle of a stone circle. And this is something that we see all over the world, are these stone circles to harness this power that is in regions like this. So just coming up here, it was kind of uncanny. I just got chills. Just walking up the mesa for the first time. Oh my gosh, there's a stone circle. Okay, leave it to Jen again. Now, I already noticed the star in the mountains above, but as we're kind of saying, okay, satellite dish. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. Those are directional points. The mountains are straight that way, due east. So, map. So if that's the case, and if this is a map, that circular structure that we saw at the very top, is that what this is? Basically the circle with the dot, circumpunct, which would be the ancient alchemical symbol. But then you have the directional points heading out from that. So is that the structure that was at the top? Hard to know again, because then that leaves the rest of it open to a lot of interpretation for the rest of the area around here. But are we looking at it incorrectly? Would this be a map of the entire structure upward? So this would be the very top, this would be the base, the bottom, basically where we are at now, and then of course the mountains beyond. It's another way to look at it, a vertical map rather than a horizontal one. So that's all right. So there was a piece of that. Some of you may recognize that thrown out there on like TikTok and Instagram. It was a little bit more of a fuller piece. And then again, the whole video, most of the video on the YouTube channel, the whole thing is out on Connected Universe portal. So let's break this down a little bit here when we're looking at the map. Okay, so it was great. There's a stone circle at the top, and that that blew me away. I was not expecting that. Jen threw out there, hey, this could be a lookout tower and or a lookout post, and it could be because you had a really nice wide view of the valley and everything. I mean, we're not talking like Watchtower of Amansul, Weathertop from Lord of the Rings, but it would be a nice perch for that. But you know, I always key in on stone circles. We're talking star people, portals, all that sort of stuff. So you know, that's where I'm drawing the connections in those types of relationships. So so when we look at the map here, okay, yeah, there's the circle. We got a dot in the middle. You see these directional arrows, and yeah, we're looking at you see that design on the side that has kind of like a stick with a oval thing at the top. We were kind of laughing like it was you know, satellite dish or, you know, radar tower or something like that. We're just kind of joking around with that. We're not sure what that is, but you can see obviously the circle at the top of the mesa. Well, what's all the other stuff if it's some sort of map? So, you know, this was pretty basic graphical magic. Now, you remember when we were talking about these other ones, got the star people here, the snake, the spiral, right? That was on our way out. So when we had come down from the mesa that day, and you know, there's the truck sitting there, the park ranger waiting for us to get in and get out. And we were driving around the circle. It's not very large. We're driving around the circle, and then Jen noticed a spiral. So, oh, we're gonna come back the next day. So that was away from the rest of the what they call the Mesa Trail. Okay. So this is at the very front of the mesa. It's like a map of the area. So, okay, if that's the circle on the top, what is the rest? Well, you know, that could be up for interpretation, but I know what the star is. So let me show you this. Let me overlay a map of the area. So if you look at Mesa Point Trail, so the circle, right, is right on the top of the mesa in the middle of the trail. Well, where are those? Where are these? The star people, the snake, the spiral. Well, if you look at the map, where that is on the trail, the cliff-based trail, is right there, right aligned with the star that is on the rock carving map. So it's a nice little map of that area, and they designate the area that shows star people, snake, portal, with that star that is in the lower left-hand corner. It all lines up. It's like perfect. We'll have to do some more research on what the other symbols may actually mean there. But we do see some of those similar symbols there on the mesa itself. As you walk around, you go through the pass and you're trying to climb up. So you do have, again, it's really, really faint. You see the spiral again. This is on the very east edge when you're first climbing up, maybe about a third of the way up to the mesa. This is looking outward toward the east, but you have that spiral again. Then as you walk around a little bit, you see different images of people and beings. Some of them are star people. Now, some of them, I will say, they are tribesmen. They are somebody you can tell that they are just, you know, regular people, regular tribesmen, things like that. But then you have stuff like this, where you have a guy, it almost looks like he's flexing, right? But he's tied to the spiral that you have these rays that are coming out of. So you look at this and you're like, wait a minute, is that like an activated portal? Like when you look at that, you get the spiral going on and then you have rays coming out. So is this thing like active and in use? And, he's tethered to it. He's like connected to it as he's coming out. And yeah, he's like on his way out. He's almost, he's almost like flexing, like, yeah, I'm on my way out sort of thing. It's very, very interesting. And there are multiple ones like that around. Let me take a look at some of your comments here. So Sarah asks, what do they say about where these portals lead to? So basically somewhere else in the cosmos. And you have that sort of interpretation from cultures all over that use these different symbols. And now they might have like a different star system that they were connected to, whether it was Sirius or Deneb or some of these others. That they're saying that the star people connected, but it was always like somewhere else in the cosmos. We're having these astronomical alignments. Like when you look at Pueblo Bonito, that whole site is astronomically aligned. And so these star people are coming from somewhere else in the cosmos. So that's where these portals are going to. So people come in from those locations in the cosmos, in the universe, and then they're going back. Yeah, Tom, kind of a lookout mountain. And Brent, I wonder if they use those to watch for the gods, the star people. Maybe. So yeah, it's a location, Boca Negra, that we had very limited time to explore, but definitely a location that we want to get back to. Okay. So other connections in types of portals and basically like use of energy. Now, last week we did cover, and this was during the Harvard UFO research paper discussion. I played a clip from Montezuma's Well. I'm not going to replay that, but Montezuma's Well is really, really interesting. We'll discuss it here for a moment. And that when we're talking about these different peoples and connections to other places in the cosmos, when we're talking about different types of portals, another type of portal would be ones that are here on Earth and lead to places here on Earth. Okay, it doesn't always have to go to some other place in the cosmos. And I know we like to talk about them. We always like to make those different connections. And yes, the ancients did say things like, yeah, this is our connection to Sirius. And like the Dogon tribe in Africa, talking about a star that, and they've been talking about it for thousands of years, about this star that we couldn't even see until just the last couple of decades, right? How did they know it was there if we couldn't even see it until the last couple of decades? But they knew it was there. But that was something that was passed down. But it doesn't always have to go out to there. It could be here on Earth too, whether it's to we talked Pilcher Mountain there a few weeks ago about basically being taken inside the mountain into some other location, almost into another dimension. It could be underground, which is what we talk about with Montezuma as well. And you see in the background here some of the different cliff dwellings. But what's really, really fascinating about this, for one, we have no idea how far that goes down, how deep that water is. Now this is, well, I should preface this a little bit. This is in Arizona. It's basically between Phoenix and Sedona. It's in the Verde Valley. You have Montezuma's Well, you have Montezuma's Castle. We'll talk about the castle here in a moment. And scientists, modern scientists today are saying, oh, it's a giant sinkhole and there's water in it. Well, okay, it's a little bit more than that. We don't know how far down it goes because there's so much pressure of water coming up from it that people can't dive into it. They've tried to send probes down in there. They get spit back up. We have no idea how far down it goes. There's so much
alkaline and other things in the water. There's like only 5 species of animals that live within the water, and they're like exclusive to this water. It's bizarre. And then you have all these cliff dwellings around it, which seems really odd. If people can't even drink this water, why would they live there? Now there is a stream down the hill behind this a ways. It would make more sense to put the cliff dwellings back there by the stream rather than at this hole in the ground. But what this hole in the ground is, this little pond, is there's an origin story here of the cataclysm, that when the great cataclysm happened and humanity was being wiped out, that an underground civilization, the quote unquote ant people, had taken the people, the humans inside this underground area to protect them, to save them. Now, of course, a great cataclysm was some sort of flood, so it doesn't make sense that you would take them underground to some place when there's a flood of water. You would want to go to high ground, not low ground, but yet they went underground. So where they took them under there, I don't think was necessarily physically under the ground. That might have been the entrance to someplace else that transported them elsewhere to be safe. I think this was more of an entrance, a portal type area to take them somewhere else, not necessarily live underground there, because there would be no way, if the whole place is getting flooded, that they would have actually lived and survived like that. It doesn't make any sense. So I think that the legend, did as best as they could describe what was happening to them. Yes, taken underground through here, this portal type area, and there is energy in the area. There's absolutely, throughout that whole region, really, the American Southwest is littered with it. But even as you go down that hill there to the stream, and those that saw the video last week remember, there's deposits of silver around there. So you have these conductive metals that are around there as well, right along a stream like that. So it's a very, very highly energetic area. So, and Sarah asks, if these stargates were used to travel, why don't we have more records from people about them? We do. Go back and watch all my Stargates of Ancient Egypt stuff. We've got records on that. We hear about a lot of these different legends of people moving about throughout the stars. They are in the indigenous legends and lore. All these different stories. The Dogon tribe, talked about, I mentioned them before. Egypt's littered with it. You have the ancient Aboriginals from Australia talking about it. Yeah, it's our modern archaeology and anthropology just pushes it off as legend and lore and myth, but they talk about it all the time. So, all right, so we're going to look here down, because we only have about 10 minutes left, down the river here a little bit to Montezuma's castle, which is really a cliff dwelling. So I'm going to go ahead and play this clip. Yes, we have another video clip from Montezuma's castle, but it's connected there, of course, obviously, to Montezuma as well. They're only a handful of miles apart. Back at Montezuma's castle, which is not a castle, and Montezuma was never here. It's a cliff dwelling, and it's named for the nearby lake, which is Montezuma Lake. But what's interesting about this place, at least to me, is that it's right downstream from Montezuma's well. So, given the origin stories of that area, those peoples would have migrated down this way, following the flow of the river. So also the idea that the energy from that area would have come right down here to feed the people here as well. So their origins always going back to nourish them energetically here as well. Another fantastic feature about this site is that these walls, these fantastic cliff faces, are actually made of limestone. And of course, being right against the water, you have a chance here for a lot of energy to be built up. Of course, we see the limestone structures in Egypt. Of course, one of the things when we talk about the Mineral Springs area,
along the Mississippi River. Again, you have limestone bluffs and then the water and all of that energy there, creating a lot of different types of activity. So this is definitely a draw for those people coming from where they did at the well, their experiences that they had with that origin story, with those energies that they were harnessing. And they were doing it right here with the limestone as well.
I'm sure Tom appreciated the mentions there about Mineral Springs. Yeah, it's the same type of setup. You have limestone bluffs; these are limestone cliffs, and it's right next to a source of water. So you're going to have just that energy right there playing with each other. And when we talk about the energy of that area to begin with, you also have the. Here's the thing is, people are, oh, you're talking energy. What do you mean energy? What is that? Where does this energy come from? Well, it comes from the earth, right? Okay. How? And those who've been following along know where I'm going with this. Well, it's that, the earth's core, it's that magnetism from that. You have the spinning, molten, ball of metal in the earth's core, molten iron that's spinning around and around and around, creating a magnetic field. And depending on the minerals and metals that it interacts with as it's rising up out of the ground, it creates these different electromagnetic fields, it creates different energies. And so the American Southwest, whatever the world is in the ground there, my belief is going to be meteorites. I mean, we know that there's, craters and things like that out there, that, there are those types of things that are in the ground. It could even be natural crystal deposits and things like that, that's interacting with these things and creating these different electromagnetic fields that, in conjunction, creates all this different energy for things like portals and what have you, to be able to open and operate in all of that. So, Montezuma's castle, I like Montezuma's well better. To me, there's more to explore, there's more to walk around. There's more to see. It's, with the castle here, you have, it's not really a castle. It is a big cliff dwelling, that's up there in the cliff. And then you have some smaller ones. They have the visitor center there, so you get to see that sort of stuff. But I've always liked the well better. To me, there's a little bit more going on there. And we also went to Tuzigut, which is further off the path. Basically, as you're going to Jerome, it's just before you get there. Yeah. So different comments. So Deborah saying, love Mineral Springs. Yeah. Mineral Springs is absolutely amazing. There's so much activity that happens around there, paranormal, supernatural in nature. Yes. Tom and I have seen some things together while we were out there at Mineral Springs Hotel in Alton. It's absolutely amazing out there. So, Scarlett says, would the weather have been cooler or hotter? Well, it depends on, the time that we are talking about. It's been quite hot out there for thousands of years. But when you go further back, like we didn't touch on White Sands today, but White Sands, which now is it's basically like white beach sand for miles and miles and miles. Hot, dry, arid out there. But around the time of the Ice Age, it was a really nice area. There was water, there were animals, nice plant life. So it just depends on how far back you go. But there at White Sands, they have recently found footprints there dating back 23,000 years. Which is important to note, because for the longest time we were being told that North America had only been, both of the Americas had only been populated south of the ice sheets for about 15,000 years. They had to wait for those ice sheets to melt and for people to migrate down and all that. And that happened around 15,000 years ago. But and now we're finding footprints that are 23,000 years old. In other parts of South America, they're finding stuff that's 40,000 years old. There was a site around the San Diego area, 120,000 years old. So we don't quite understand the history of these continents of the we don't quite understand the history of the Western Hemisphere. We're still learning about that. Oh, and Deborah saw the nice. You saw what is trying to remember her name, the apparition of the woman walking down the staircase. Tom, do you remember? I'm trying to remember offhand. She actually has a name. When we saw the little girl upstairs, we were actually investigating Pearl's room, and we saw the little girl actually walk down the hall and stop at the doorway to the room where she usually hangs out at. So Lisa's asking, do you notice any ripples or movement on the surface of the well since pressure is pushing up? I mean, there are ripples, but basically that's more from it seems to be more naturally from the wind or the breeze. I mean, there is water movement. It's not totally stagnant. I mean, part of it could be from it pressing up. Do have some video of it. I could look a little bit closer at it to see how specifically it's moving. But yeah, there is water movement there. That would be nasty if it was stagnant, but it does move. And Tom doesn't remember her name. That's unfortunate. Yeah, she does have a specific name. Yeah. So, all right. Well, we are going to go ahead and wrap this up. Really appreciate everybody dropping by this evening. Again, you can see that there is a theme here. We've been talking about portals here for a while. That is the theme of the next book here that's going to be coming out later this year. So we will be covering a lot of this material here over the next few months. So won't be too repetitive. We'll hit some other things too. So don't worry about that. I do want to let you know with the holiday next week, no class. So we'll come back the what is that? The 10th? Yeah, the 10th. So we'll be back July 10th for the next class. And for those that are listening to the audio version of this later, please join us every Wednesday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, connecteduniverseportal.com. Those that are members of the portal, stay tuned, stick with us. We're going to kick over to the after show. For everybody else, till next time, if time really exists.